there's not that much crypto right now, especially at this time of the night. So we're going to do a ranking on the best salad bowl restaurants. You know, the acai bowls and stuff you can just throw a bunch of stuff plus some vegetables in, and call it a meal. And we're going to be ranking them on basically price, value, amount of food you get, and how tasty they are, and of course nutrition, because most people would eat these salad bowl restaurants because they're more nutritious and perhaps healthier. Not always, but perhaps. So we're going to be taking a look at 6 places. Of course, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, so this probably is a more substantial than Wisconsinites. So we're going to be looking at Naf Naf, Forage Kitchen, Crispin Green, Jackknife, Chipotle, and Qdoba. So we're going to be ranking them from top to bottom to top. So coming in doesn't mean it's bad, but I think value wise and how much food you get wise, I think the worst is probably the one that's closest to me, and that's Jackknife. Now I actually eat at Jackknife. It's okay. They're more of like a sushi place, but they do offer hot and cold bowls. I usually get their hot bowl with the chicken. And yes, all these salad places do offer bowls with chicken. So the thing is, it's $16 plus tax, like $16.80 something, and you get a decent amount of chicken. You get a couple of vegetables thrown in there, some rice, and it's actually decently tasty. The reason it comes in last is because it's probably the most expensive option of all these places, and they don't give you enough food. So amount of food to price and how filling it is, this one does not make the mark. Honestly, I have a pretty big appetite. I guess if you're a 100-pound girl, this might be perfect and this might rank at the top. But for a guy, average sized guy, 170 something pounds, 5'11 or so, it's not enough food for me, even with the chicken. So just because the price to food ratio doesn't quite add up, it has to slot in at number 6. At number 5, Crispin Green. This one is on Mineral Point Road, and I had their acai bowls. Now, it is actually it has about, I think, the same amount of food as Jackknife, but it's about $3 cheaper. And yes, I do get the chicken bowl. And I actually do think, just looking at the stuff in the bowl, it is a little bit more healthier than Jackknife. So I can get a chicken bowl with vegetables, obviously, for about $13. And they have some pretty interesting options. They also have pretty decent smoothies, although their smoothies aren't as sweet as some of the other smoothies. But that might actually be a plus for some people because it probably contains less sugar. They also offer wraps and other things. But I have eaten here, and their bowl's $13 or so. With that's the chicken bowl, and I actually got chicken bowls at all these places. They're actually not a bad deal. Now, I will say again, it's still not enough food for the most part for me. But like I said, if it's $3 less and it's about the same amount of food as Jackknife, it has to slide above Jackknife in the ratings. So this is number 5. Number 4 is Forage Kitchen. Now, I think this is kind of like a chain, at least here in Wisconsin. And price-wise, it's a little bit less than Jackknife. I usually get their Thai bowl with chicken, and I like that because they have the warm curry. Now, they have some filling options. They have sweet potato, which a lot of places don't actually have. They also have a hard-boiled egg, but their hard-boiled egg doesn't really move them up in the rankings because it costs $2.50 to add a hard-boiled egg to your bowl, and that is way too expensive. $1 an egg, maybe, especially since egg prices have come down, but $2.50 an egg, no, not at all. So this slides in at number 4 because it's about $14, maybe $15, so a little bit cheaper than Jackknife, but their my ability to actually get sweet potato in a lot of these meals actually does bump it up a few places. And plus, it's still slightly cheaper than Jackknife, and I think it's a little bit more filling based on what you get. You get a little bit more rice. You can also get the Kenya option, the brown rice. You get those two as your bases. You also get the warm potato curry, and there's quite a few more fruit options you can actually mix in with the create your own bowl type of thing. And even though it slides in price wise between Jackknife and Crispin Green, I think it's a little bit more tastier than Crispin Green, which is why I'm giving Forage Kitchen, one slot above Crisp and Green. So Next up on the list is Naf Naf Middle Eastern Grill. Now, you might think like, oh, this isn't really a vegetable grill, but it is. I mean, look at the options. You have obviously the lettuce. You have like, cucumbers, tomatoes, onions. You have a lot of greens, and you can actually make a bowl. Now, the price for the actual like a bowl is, and you get the pizza with it on the side if you want, is roughly about, $10, $11, which is significantly cheaper than the other three options I've already mentioned. But when I go here, I generally get the plate, which is about $13, which puts it about the same price as Crisp and Green, like $1 cheaper than Forage Kitchen, and about $3 cheaper than Jackknife. But the reason it slots in above those two is because they give you a lot of food on that plate. This is the first place where if I eat that meal, I am fulfilled, like I am actually full. Now, that $13 does actually get you a lot of chicken, which is why it actually fulfills you. Now, the downside is on the nutritional value, it has a lot of nutrition, but there is a lot of salt. But that is kind of like your choice of what to get. If you like don't get the pita on the side, because the pita actually does have quite a bit of salt, and you skip the hummus, you still get a lot of food, and you just cut like half the salt, essentially. You just cut like half the salt out of play. I always get the pizza and the hummus because I want to get the most food for my money whenever I go out. But that is a large helping of salt, and a lot of people don't really want that. I can totally understand if you don't want that. But yeah, the plate, $13, and it's actually like it's very healthy, especially if you don't get the pita on the side and the hummus, because that cuts down on the salt. Doesn't really have that much fat outside of the chicken, which is acceptable amount for dinner, and it fills you up. That's the most important part. Like I would have to say, like Jackknife, Crisp and Green, Forage Kitchen, their main sin is that they do not fill me up with one helping. Whereas if I pay like the same price or slightly lower price at Naf Naf, I can actually be full. And being satiated, obviously, is one of the main purposes of eating altogether. Now, 1 and 2 might surprise you. I actually rank Qdoba and Chipotle 1 and 2. Now, which one is really dependent on the person. Some people love Chipotle, other people swear by Qdoba. It honestly doesn't matter. These two are fairly interchangeable for me, but if I have to rank them, I'm going to rank Chipotle number 2 and Qdoba number 1. The reason is a value thing. Like, with $10 at Qdoba, at least here $10 at Qdoba, you can get like pretty much every option with the tortilla on the side in a bowl. And you should always get the bowl because they give you more food in the bowl. Like you can get everything, including the guacamole. It's basically like $10, you get everything. Like, and that includes chicken. Now it's slightly more expensive if you want the beef or the steak, but it's also slightly more expensive at Chipotle if you want that. So being able to get everything, including the guacamole and all the dips for $10, that's just a better value than what I would actually get at Chipotle. And honestly, like comparing the burritos, usually Qdoba does give me a bigger helping. But the thing is, these are both around $10. I think Chipotle, if you get the guac, it's like $11.50 something. But the thing is, like, these are actually fairly healthy. But once again, it depends on what you actually get. The thing is, like, the tortilla on the side has, and the main issue is like salt and maybe the fat. But if the tortilla on the side actually has a lot of salt, so get rid of that. The cheese and the queso also have a lot of fat and salt. So if you get rid of those things, you still get a really, really nice size dinner. And it's cheaper than the other options, which is why these are 2 and 1. And Qdoba is slightly better than Chipotle to me. Taste-wise, they're honestly about the same. To me, I don't really taste too much of a difference. If you really want to go healthy, you can just skip the guac, but I would get the guac because the guac is quite nice. Yeah, like the main I guess unhealthier things in this are the actual like tortilla, the queso and the cheese. The tortilla, because it does contain a lot of salt, they have to preserve it, and the queso and the cheese because they have both salt and fat. If you take those out, it's actually the bowl is a very healthy meal. You would get obviously the fried vegetables at Qdoba, at least you would get the fried vegetables. Remember, all that comes for like $10. You get the corn, the mango stuff, a lot of the salsa, as well as the lettuce, and like the base. You can have like brown rice or white rice. It doesn't really matter. Actually, brown rice I think is slightly healthier, but it doesn't actually matter all that much. I actually think the health and the tomatoes, of course. I actually do think health-wise, if you take out the queso, the cheese, and the tortilla, it's just as healthy as any of the other options. It's just that those three things kind of like tip it in the unhealthy, unhealthy sector. It's like naf naf with like the salt in the hummus and the pita. So you can just kind of customize it. But even without those options, it is like twice as much food as like Crisp and Green Forage Kitchen and Jackknife for like, a couple dollars less. I think between Naf Naf, Qdoba, and Chipotle, I think they give you about the same amount of food, but Qdoba and Chipotle is cheaper. I will say Naf Naf tastes slightly better, but honestly, like the bowl at Qdoba and Chipotle does not taste bad at all with everything mixed in. And it might even have a few more vegetables, but it's about the same. It's kind of like different types of vegetables. And like all these places have a lot of salsa. So those are my rankings of the best salad bowl places around here. I know there's like more places around here, but I think like most of the other places I've had are very similar to Crisp and Green for both price and kind of like quantity of food and quality of food. So they would kind of like slide in that Crisp and Green area. Whereas like, Naf Naf, Chipotle, and Qdoba are definitely like a cut above in terms of like how much food you get. And, taste wise, they're pretty good as well. So let me know if you disagree, like and subscribe, hit the bell notifications button. We'll go back to crypto after this video, and I will see you guys later.